Hello, everyone. Talk about a busy Tuesday. I'm Chris Thomas.
I'm Laura Painter. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, we do have updates tonight on the plan to tackle affordable housing here in California.
That's right. Assembly Bill 1157, the Affordable Rent Act, also known as the Rent Cap Bill, will not be moving forward. Let's bring in State Matters political reporter Jenny Ha with a closer look. So, Jenny, break down for us what exactly happened here.
Yeah, so pretty much what happens is it failed to pass this afternoon in the Assembly Judiciary Committee for the second year in a row. Democratic Assembly member Ash Kalra, who was the author of the bill, introduced it last year, and he brought it back for reconsideration this year. Speaker after speaker from both sides took to the podium during the hearing, and this all was preceded by a rally Monday in which advocates voiced very strong support for the bill. AB 1157 proposed establishing a permanent rent cap statewide, reducing it from the current 10% to 5% and expanding those protections to single-family homes. Take a listen to what Assemblymember Kalra, as well as two legislators who voted no, had to say about all of this.
There is a cost to humanity. I think there's a far greater cost for our inhumanity and for us not understanding that we need to do more to help those who are struggling the most.
The greatest thing we can do to deal with our housing crisis in California is ensure there is a home built for every single Californian.
I'm concerned about the big arm of government telling private property owners what they have to do.
So the bill failed to get a majority of the votes needed to advance through the committee. It is dead. It will not be moving forward. Laura.
Yeah, thank you for that update, Jenny. And it's not the only story that she is following today.
That's right. State Senator Scott Wiener is pushing a bill that would allow Californians to sue federal officials.
We're here today because ICE and the Trump administration is trampling over the Constitution and needs to be held accountable.
That's why Senate Bill 747 is called the No Kings Act, says lead author Senator Scott Wiener.
If California can't stand up to Trump, then who can? And so California has a solemn responsibility to lead.
He says the legislation is to hold federal officials and agents more accountable in light of recent headlines regarding operations by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol.
We are not breaking radical new legal ground here. We are closing a loophole.
A legal loophole in Section 1983, supporters say, which is a federal civil rights law that lets citizens sue local or state officers for constitutional violations, but not federal officers.
If this were state or local officials, we would be in court right now. But because federal officials are excluded from Section 1983, something that this bill tries to remedy, we basically have many fewer options.
Anya Bidwell is with the Institute for Justice, the group representing George Redis, a U.S. citizen and veteran who was detained for 72 hours by ICE last July on his way to work.
They still trapped me in my car with tear gas. They still broke my window. They still pepper sprayed me. They still dragged me out of the car even though I wasn't resisting or anything.
Bidwell says Redis has not yet filed a complaint, as it would likely be dismissed under discretionary immunity under current law.
So I was free to go, and I just got to live with the experience that they put me through.
The reason ICE behaves in the way they do is because they know that it is extremely difficult to sue them.
Supporters say the easiest remedy would be for Congress to amend existing law, but until then, it's up to states. You're saying states have no right to regulate federal authorities.
Correct. We cannot have 50 different states deciding how they think we should be operating. The states do not have the authority to regulate federal agents, period. End of story.
I believe that this is going to feed a fire of anti-law enforcement that is unjustified.
That was ABC10's Jenny Ha reporting. Now, this would be for cases in California, and if passed, it would be retroactive to March 1st, 2025.
The Senate Judiciary Committee voted to advance this bill. It'll go to the Appropriations Committee next. Then, if it passes, onto the Senate floor.
Well, with polls showing that Americans are still concerned about jobs and affordability, President Trump is turning his attention back to the economy.
He's in Michigan today, visiting a Ford plant and speaking to Detroit's Economic Club. ABC's Karen Travers has the details tonight.
President Trump in Michigan to promote his efforts to boost U.S. manufacturing, touring a Ford factory in Dearborn that makes F-150 pickups, the best-selling domestic vehicle in the U.S.
All of the U.S. automakers now are doing great. and before they were having a really hard time.
His visit to Michigan comes as new numbers out today from the Consumer Price Index show that inflation continues to tick higher, up 2.7% in December compared to a year ago. It's in line with expectations, but the Fed wants to see it at just 2%. Prices are still high in many categories, especially certain grocery items like coffee and beef. Speaking to the Detroit Economic Club, President Trump touted the data.
Under our administration, growth is exploding, productivity is soaring, investment is booming, incomes are rising, inflation is defeated, America is respected again like never before. And other than that, we're not doing that well.
President Trump continues to push the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. Fed Chair Jerome Powell claims that push for lower rates is behind the Justice Department's new criminal investigation into Powell's testimony about extensive renovations at the Fed headquarters.
He's billions of dollars over budget, so he either is incompetent or he's crooked. I don't know what he is, but he doesn't do a very good job.
Democrats are calling the investigation bogus.
Donald Trump is clearly angry that his own presidency has been a disaster for our economy. So he's looking for a scapegoat, and he thinks Jerome Powell can be one.
Even some Republicans are expressing concerns about a probe into Powell. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the charges better be real and better be serious, and he asked the administration for a briefing on the investigation. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Meanwhile, President Trump says he's taking additional steps to enforce his immigration crackdown. He says the federal government will now stop making payments to sanctuary cities and states with those cities. He said it will happen on February 1st. He made the announcement while speaking to the Detroit Economic Club in Michigan. He says the move is necessary because he believes sanctuary cities do everything possible to, in his words, quote, protect criminals at the expense of American citizens. Last year, you may remember, a judge blocked the Trump administration from denying funding to more than 30 sanctuary cities that had policies limiting their cooperation with federal immigration authorities.
Tonight, a father is facing murder and felony child abuse charges in connection with the death of his 7-month-old daughter. Edgar Bonifacio was arrested today by Galt police. ABC 10's Roxana Elias has the latest tonight.
In the early hours of Tuesday morning, Galt police arrested 33-year-old Edgar Allen Bonifacio in connection with the death of his infant daughter. Police say the investigation started back in August of last year after UC Davis Medical Center notified the department of suspected child abuse involving the 7-month-old girl who had head trauma.
When our detective initially interviewed him, he said that he was home alone and that he was holding his child and that she slipped and fell from his grip. So she said she fell to the ground and lost consciousness when she hit the ground.
Lieutenant Brian Azevedo says Bonifacio said he then called his wife, who returned to the home, and they took their daughter to the hospital within 15 to 30 minutes. Police say the baby was hospitalized and received extensive medical treatment for 49 days.
She wasn't really recovering and she wasn't making any sign of progress, and so the family and the medical staff made a determination to kind of take actions to make the most compassionate decision for her, and she succumbed to her injuries.
Police say that through the investigation and with the assistance of the hospital, it was determined the infant's injuries were inconsistent with Bonifacio's explanation, and he was arrested. We tried to speak to the family at their home in Galt on Tuesday, but a woman answered the door and declined to comment. An attorney later sent ABC10 this statement from the family of Natalia Cruz Felix. It says in part, "Our family is experiencing an unimaginable loss. We are devastated and heartbroken as we grieve the death of our beautiful daughter, Natalia. As you can imagine, this is an incredibly painful time for us."
The magnitude of anything where you have such a young victim, it really does, affects you, and all we have our sincere condolences to the family and to the mom and to anybody in their family, and especially to her. People don't deserve what happened to her, and so it does affect us all.
In Galt, Roxana Elias, ABC 10.
Coming up, city officials considering a plan to cap homeless services in the River District.
A proposal up for discussion today could cap homeless shelter beds and services in the River District. City Council member Phil Puckybalm says about a quarter to a third of the city's shelter beds are currently in that area. The plan would update an ordinance that limits services while still allowing a new safe housing site planned later this year.
We would like to see, the people experiencing homelessness provided services, but not all those services concentrated in the River District. So the intent of this cap 30 years ago was not to say, no homelessness, no, services ever. It's just like this neighborhood is already doing well more than its fair share.
Today, the proposal goes to the Law and Legislation Committee before heading to City Council.
Well, listen to this. An actor with local connections has turned himself over to police in New Mexico. He's accused of alleged criminal sexual contact with a minor and also child abuse. Timothy Busfield, the actor and director best known for his role as Danny on the TV series The West Wing, turned himself in to police. This is according to law enforcement and U.S. Marshal sources. Busfield is accused of inappropriately touching a child actor on the set of his show The Cleaning Lady, according to a criminal complaint obtained by ABC News. The actor faces 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse. Busfield was a co-founder of the B Street Theater here in Sacramento. B Street Theater released this statement today saying, quote, "These allegations did not occur at B Street Theater, nor do they involve any activity connected with our organization, its staff, or our programs. As a professional theater that has served Sacramento and Northern California for decades, our mission is to provide a safe, creative, and inclusive environment for artists, audiences, and families."
Next at 5:30, the 2026 Cancer Report is out. What you can expect when it comes to cancer cases and death rates.
I'm tracking poor air quality developing through the afternoon, as well as more fog ahead in our forecast.
Okay, have you seen this video? My goodness, this is in Colorado. A group of skiers got caught in an avalanche. The group of 3 was skiing in Rocky Mountain National Park when 2 of them got caught in that avalanche. One of them suffered a dislocated shoulder trying to grab a tree, and another got caught in that snow. Thankfully, the good news is they did all make it out alive. And so I do want to bring in Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. I know we had even an avalanche here that turned deadly over the holiday period. I know a lot of people may be looking forward to getting up to enjoying the snow with some of the storms letting up, but how are conditions is the question.
Yeah, thankfully, it looks like you are tracking some milder weather this week, but always a good reminder to be safe up there.
Yeah, especially with the amount of snow and the way that was coming in. It was a higher avalanche danger, certainly last week, but we continue to always keep an eye on that, especially with the amount of snow that we had in a fairly short period of time. What we're tracking first and foremost, though, is going to be some of the conditions that we had to deal with for today. Morning fog returns for tomorrow, along with chilly conditions. Air quality, well, we've got the burn restrictions in place. A bit of a pattern change. This is going to be way deep in the forecast. So in the short term, we're still going to be considering a lot of that fog and the poor air quality. In fact, for tomorrow, Sacramento County has all burning prohibited. This is our check before you burn season. It lasts all the way through February. It's just because our conditions this time of year definitely promote some of that poor air quality due to wood burning appliances and the smoke just kind of hanging in the valley. Temperatures right now in the 50s to near 60 throughout the valley. We're at 36 for Tahoe. Again, hazy skies for today. We started off with morning lows in the 30s, so it's not too surprising that people want to use their fireplaces. We were right around 10 to 15 degrees for this year, but you're noting that Placerville up to or down to only 50 degrees. That's where we start to see that inversion take place, where we have that warmer air sitting above the colder valley conditions, and that just basically caps the atmosphere. So anything trying to rise just can't do it, and it gets trapped very close to the surface. So hazy skies for today, but still reach the low 60s for the valley and the foothills, near 50 for the Sierra. Looking at our hourly weather, it's a rinse and repeat kind of forecast here. We fall to lows once again in the upper 30s, near 40. Areas of fog for the morning commute. Difficult to navigate some of those conditions in the morning commute all the way into the Delta, but then we start to see some of that haze burning off during the day. Highs will once again reach the upper 50s to near 60 under that ridge of high pressure, but that is also the reason that we've got this very persistent weather pattern, stagnant air. That smoke tries to rise here from all of our wood burning appliances. And when we have that inversion and light winds, it basically just puts a blanket over us, and we can't get rid of all of the pollution that's building in the valley. So poor air quality, and that's where we get the burn restrictions. And that will play out again into our Wednesday, like I said. But once we get into Thursday, a little bit of an offshore flow develops, scouring out some of the pollution. The bigger pattern change, that's looming for next week, with the potential of some rain and snow returning. Still kind of iffy if that's going to actually come to fruition, but at least we're tracking some change in the forecast. Highs for tomorrow near 50 for this year. Look at that for Nevada City, 70, Placerville 66, Arnold we're up to 68 for tomorrow. 60s along the coast. Head inland a little cooler. Morning lows in the 30s. Highs will warm to right around 50 to 55 degrees. So a look at our extended forecast. We're going to keep it in the 50s for the Sierra, 60s to near 70 for the foothills, 60s with sunshine for the coast, and our extended forecast continuing to monitor areas of fog through our Sunday forecast, and then a little bit of a change next week. Could see a nice little break on Thursday into early Friday, just mainly due to some stronger winds. But other than that, it's just going to be a lot of the same.
That blanket of fog possibly moving back in, huh, Monica?
Overnight tonight, yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Sounds good, Monica.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk health now. We're less than 2 weeks into the new year, and today a leading U.S. health organization released its annual report on what to expect in 2026 when it comes to cancer cases and death rates. Mandy Gaither has a look at the data and explains why experts say there's still work to be done to improve cancer care and outcomes.
First, the good news. In a new annual report, the American Cancer Society says cancer deaths continue to decline in the U.S., largely due to less smoking, earlier detection of cancers, and improved treatments.
We've made more progress in the treatment of metastatic cancer in the last 20 years than we did in the history of mankind before then. So we are making real progress.
But there's bad news too. In 2026, the organization projects more than 2.1 million new cancer cases in the U.S., along with more than 626,000 cancer deaths. Lung cancer remains the leading cause of those deaths, killing more people than colorectal and pancreatic cancers combined. Those are the next two deadliest cancers.
We've seen a 5-time improvement in overall survival for metastatic lung cancer patients, but it's only at 10%. So while there's been great improvement there, there's still a long way to go.
Disparities also remain. Alaska Natives and Native Americans have the highest cancer death rates. The organization says that's largely driven by lack of access to care, as well as environment and lifestyle. Black women are also less likely to survive breast cancer and are more likely to be diagnosed at a later stage and have poorer outcomes for endometrial and uterine cancers. The U.S. continues to see rates climb for men with advanced prostate cancer, and Black men are more likely to be diagnosed and die from that disease.
There's still a lot of work to be done.
The American Cancer Society says it's also important for the U.S. medical community to prioritize care for cancer survivors. Experts say the disease impacts a patient's day-to-day life, social connections, and finances. And those needs, they say, aren't always met.
Well, coming up, a Sacramento State alum is celebrating not one, but 2 Golden Globe wins over the weekend.
Coming up new tonight on the news at 6, police say multiple illegal vehicle sideshows broke out across Sacramento over the weekend, leading to several arrests and vehicles being towed. We're bringing you video from Sacramento police of the more than 50 arrests coming up at 6.
But before we go tonight, we do have a success story in Sacramento.
We love to hear those. Sacramento State alumnus Ryan Coogler has won 2 Golden Globes for his film Sinners.
Sinners.
Oh yeah, Sinners won the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award and Best Original Score. Sacramento State congratulated him on the wins in a social media post, saying he took as many film classes as he could at Sac State while also playing football. They also highlighted his previous accolades for Creed as well as Black Panther. Okay, so next stop, the Oscars, huh?
We're wishing him luck. We love when our local talent shine on the national and international stage. Well done, sir.
Making us all proud, huh? And don't forget, you can watch us anytime, any day, right here on the free ABC10 app. Have a great evening. We'll see you for the news at 6.